Okay, I'm going to get started and people will just keep filling in, but the main presentation will happen in a moment. So welcome everyone to joining us for our Southern Bookseller Review orientation. We are really thrilled to have such a big crowd today, especially when historic events are happening elsewhere. So we really appreciate your attention. This is a project we've been working on since the summertime, and we're really excited to share it with you. So the Southern Bookseller Review website and newsletter represent a rebrand of our consumer-facing Authors Round the South website, Stars Directory and Calendar, and the Lady Banks Commonplace Book newsletter. We rebranded as the Southern Bookseller Review because we wanted to emphasize the heart of our mission, which is the Southern bookseller, and the authority and respect that they hold in their communities as beloved and trusted resources for book lovers. We're seeking with the Southern Bookseller Review to amplify their voices and their reach. Southern Indie Bookseller book reviews are central in both the website and the newsletter. Posts of books that they love and plan to hand sell to their customers and other eager book lovers are featured prominently, linking back to their stores with buy buttons and easily shared on social media. We'll take you through our beautiful mobile-friendly site, which is consumer targeted, and discuss how publishers, booksellers, and authors can make the most of all that it offers. We'll also offer time for a Q&A after our presentation. But first, I want to introduce you to our team. First is Nikki Leone, who created the Southern Bookseller Review branding and was a leader in developing the conceptual framework of how the site and the newsletter would work together. She is the editor of the Southern Bookseller Review newsletter, and she makes editorial decisions on its content. SP Rankin is our one-woman production staff. She developed and maintains the website, and she built the template for the newsletter. Nikki and SP comb through hundreds of SIBA bookseller reviews weekly for content for the newsletter and the website. The newest member of our team is Lucy Perkins-Wagle, who is our social media coordinator. She's also a bookseller at Copperfish Books in Punta Gorda, Florida. And she'll speak later in the presentation about how we're promoting books on the Southern Bookseller Review in social media. We ask that you put questions for us in the Q&A, but we also encourage you to use the chat, as we have a really great mix of booksellers and publishers here. And maybe you want to introduce yourself in the chat and put your contact info there so you and speak to each other. I also want to thank Edelweiss, who came in early as a sponsor for the Southern Bookseller Review. Most of the bookseller reviews that we use as content came through reviews posted on Edelweiss. And Edelweiss has been really supportive, and they've had an early peek at what we're about to present to you. So now I'm going to turn things over to Nikki, who will lead you through the Southern Bookseller Review, and she'll show you how it can work. And I'm going to moderate the chat and ask your questions of her.
Okay, and I will just go back to sharing my screen here so that everybody can see what we're looking at. That look good to everybody? So this is the Southern Bookseller Review. As Linda Marie said, it's been an idea that we've been working on for quite a while. SIBA has had a long history of what we used to call, when Wanda was executive director, consumer targeted promotions. The point being that we wanted to encourage readers to shop more at our member bookstores. And we developed a whole range of programs to do that. The Lady Banks newsletter, the Authors Around the South website, which was designed as a calendar of bookstore events originally. The Stars Directory, which was a directory of authors who were particular friends of independent booksellers. The Okra Picks, which were forthcoming books of the Southern books that our bookstores were interested in. And all these things kind of just sort of ended up piling up on top of each other. And really we realized that the whole point of consumer targeted promotion from SIBA's point of view was really that booksellers were a fantastic resource, a trustworthy resource for their customers and for really any customers, because when they review a book, they're not reviewing on a website as some kind of avatar, or a screen name. They're reviewing to people who they are probably going to meet in the grocery store or see in their stores. So they have to be honest and sincere about what they say. And that is a phenomenal resource for readers anywhere, really. So with the help of Edelweiss, which has been a wonderful partner in getting this project off the ground, we have begun collating and collecting our member bookseller reviews and their staff picks. We get them from what they post into Edelweiss and also on their websites and in their newsletters. And we sort of put them all together into this, what we think is this great website of what, booksellers are reading and talking about. So with that in mind, here in your screen is the Southern Bookseller Review, and I see I'm on the directory page, so I'm just going to go to the home page real quick so you can see that. And here is our home page. We tried to keep it very focused, very simple. What you will see on here are basically just reviews of books that booksellers are reading, a link to our newsletter, which sort of takes some of the books from each week, some of the reviews each week, and puts them in the newsletter. Read This Next, which is how we rebranded our Okra Picks. It's forthcoming books, not yet published books that bookstores are really interested in, and they're generating a lot of early buzz. And as you scroll down, you'll see sort of, I guess, what are the most recent reviews that have been posted in the various categories. All the reviews are categorized by the name of the bookstore that has actually reviewed it. For example, page 158, you can see here, reviewed Plain Bad Heroines. I love this review. So, and also they are tagged according to subject. So there's adult fiction, adult nonfiction. If you scroll down further, you see young adult, middle grade, and children. We also use BISAC category headings as tags on this website. So as more reviews are populated, more of those tags will start to show up, and you'll be able to sort of, click on a tag and find books that fall into that particular category. Further on down, here's the just announced Read This Next for winter 2021. It's 15 books. These used to all be Southern oriented, but we did away with the Southern requirement because really, Southern booksellers read all sorts of things and their customers read all sorts of things. And so we wanted the list to reflect the full range of what it is the bookstores read. And then down here at the bottom is our directory. We have a comprehensive directory of bookstores, CEBA member bookstores on the site. We'll get to that in a minute. And also the weekly bestseller list, the Southern Book Prize, which is active right now because we're in a voting period for the ballot. I'm sure everybody's sick of the word voting and ballot, but what can you do? And then also our schedule of reader meet writer events, because those are open to the public as well. So that is the sort of on the home page what you see. I'll just sort of go back up here to the top. Here is, on Read This Now, here is the most recent set of reviews that have been published. The most recent one being A Cat Story by Ursula Murray Husted, was reviewed by Jenny Luper at page 158 Books. And a couple of things that you should know about what you're seeing here. Sorry about moving everything around on you. These are all the clickable tags over here right under the title. Buy this book, we have the main buy button always linked back to the reviewing store. The whole purpose of this is to drive sales and traffic to our member stores. So that's the most prominent purchase option on the site. We do have an alternate link right below it for people to buy from their local indie, which will go to indiebound.org for purchase. Just in case, page 158 is in Wake Forest, but if you're a reader not in Wake Forest and have your own store that you want to support, you can get to them from buying from your local indie. On the right, you'll see this whole long list of bookseller reviews, and we have these sorted by bookstore. So you could click on any one of these. Click on bookmarks here, and you will come up with all the reviews that have been submitted by people from Bookmarks in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This is also this list on the side is an ongoing. It's a building list. When we first created this site, when we first launched this site back in early December, we specifically chose to sort of start new with books that were recently reviewed and books that were coming out in the winter and in the spring. We did not attempt to. We've been collecting reviews from booksellers for quite a while and publishing them on our old site, Authors Around the South. But those reviews, a lot of them were very outdated. The books, many of them were out of print. So we decided not to just, wholesale bring them over. We sort of started with new stuff. So you'll actually see this list grow, this list of bookstores grow as more reviews are brought into the website and more bookstores sort of come on and start posting more reviews as well. I will say that last year in 2020, I have a list of all of the reviews that were published, posted to Edelweiss in 2020. And from SIBA Booksellers, they posted over 6,000 positive, like not negative, but actually positive reviews and ratings of books to Edelweiss in 2020. So there is a whole lot of bookseller enthusiasm out there that is driving this website. We would go through those lists of books that they would review because Edelweiss would send us a little report every week, and they would have about 100 reviews on it of books, about half of which were books that had just been published or who were coming out within the next 2 or 3 months. And they would, we would just read through all of them. It became very clear which books were getting buzzed and which books were going to be important to our booksellers. And we're using that information to drive the content on SIBA Web, on Southern Bookseller Review. So that is sort of the rationale and the motivation behind SBR. And I did want to make a point about the website and the newsletter, which I'll show you in just a second. All of this was designed to be responsive and mobile friendly. And I know a lot of people say that, but this really actually has been tested to work on pretty much every platform we could find to test it on, both in its newsletter format and in its website format. And the reason is that when we looked at our stats, we realized that on average, about 35% of people who visited SIBA's various online incarnations, its Facebook pages, its newsletters, its consumer websites, its regular website, about 35% were visiting from a mobile device, from a phone or from a tablet, usually an iPhone, to be honest with you. When you look at that list, that information, and only look at what we call our consumers, the people who say subscribe to Lady Bank's newsletter, but weren't actually bookstores, that number actually jumped to over 40%, sometimes as high as 45%. And that figure did not change in 2020, even when everybody was stuck at home. Everybody was still, we had a significant number of visitors and traffic that were coming from mobile devices. So we made a commitment that this site and everything operational about this site and its newsletter would be mobile friendly. And actually SP deserves the lion's share of the thanks for that, because she's the one who made that actually work. So somebody, it's been asked like how we choose which books are actually posted on these reviews. Books are submitted, like I said, through Edelweiss mostly, but we also look on store websites and newsletters. I receive newsletters from most of our SIBA member bookstores. I see a lot of those reviews in those newsletters. We also have a forum that we've made available for bookstores if they want to review a book that they can't find on Edelweiss, for example, so that, we're not just limited to books that are listed in Edelweiss, although the lion's share are coming from Edelweiss reviews. And then we go through and we pick the books that we try to represent the full range of our geographic area, so bookstores from all over SIBA territory, all 11 states of SIBA territory. We also try to find a full range of genres, and we look to amplify underrepresented voices, BIPOC authors, LGBTQ authors, any underrepresented, also underrepresented areas. But mostly what we're trying to do is pick books that show like sort of the range of things that our booksellers read and recommend, because if they've taken the trouble to write a review about a book, then they've spent some serious time on that, and they've done that because they want to sell it to their customers. So they think their customers are going to want to read those books. And so we take that as an indication that these books are, going to be important to their store and their community. The reviews themselves are lightly edited for typos, but otherwise basically left alone to the bookseller's language. There are a couple reviews that we don't use. Some bookstores have like teen advisory councils. They have some, advisory readers, and if they're not, we won't use those reviews when they come through if they're not actually staff members of the store. So,
Nikki, I have a couple questions coming through.
Okay.
Can you show how to search for a title on the site, and if it shows multiple booksellers reviewing the same title?
Yes. Okay, so let's get to that right now. Now that we've done the homepage and read this, there's a search option right up at the top here, and you can search through, just by typing things. Let's see. And here's We Keep the Dead Close, and it will come up with that. And also it will come up with every place else We Keep the Dead Close shows up. So because we've just started this, there are not a whole lot of multiple reviews for the same title yet. But I will say that they're coming, because when we actually started bringing in all these reviews from Edelweiss, we have at least, I would say about a dozen titles that have multiple bookseller reviews, like 3 and 4 positive reviews. And we do want all of those reviews to be on the site, because we want them all, we want booksellers to be able to go to their pages, with their reviews, and see everything that they're actually reviewing, whether or not it shows up at the top of the most recently posted list or not. So we'll go back to our Read This Now list. So if we were to click on Copperfish books, if Copperfish and Bookmarks both review the same book, eventually those book reviews will appear within their, in their collection store reviews, even though they probably won't appear next to each other in the what's basically a feed of posted reviews. And reviews are posted. There's about maybe a dozen to 20 Ultimately, we're shooting for 25 posted each week. So there'll be new ones posted in the mornings and new ones posted in the afternoons, give or take. So it's going to be a constantly cycling list of what shows up at any given time. Lots of activity. You can also search by genre here. You know, you could, click on a particular genre and you'll come up with all the books in that particular genre. Right? And there's We Keep the Dead Close again. Does that answer, Linda? Do you think that answers the question? Should I?
Yes,
There
it's a building list. And the other question is, can booksellers submit indie next picks through the review form as they can on Edelweiss? I think SIBA has its own form, and then it also uses Edelweiss. Those are the two sources.
Yes. The books that booksellers review and get posted to Edelweiss get to us, get to SIBA, because the stores that are in SIBA territory, Edelweiss has them categorized that way. And they just send us a list of all of the reviews that they have categorized as coming from a SIBA store. But that won't necessarily submit them to Indie Next. I think that's a separate process because it's separate. It's a separate sort of, path there. But if they post a review to Edelweiss, just to post it to Edelweiss, it gets to SIBA. So, and as a matter of fact, if you post something and you don't see it come to SIBA, then you should contact me, because that means Edelweiss is not including your reviews in our list, and we'll want to rectify that. Just real quickly, some of the other parts of the site. We've talked a little bit about Read This Next. This is our 15 forthcoming titles. All of these books received multiple very excitable, positive reviews, very fun to read reviews on the from booksellers, and so that's why they're on this list. And this list will change out every quarter. There will be a spring list in April and a summer list in July, and the fall list will come in October. So, but these 15 titles will be sort of consistently promoted over the next 3 months. And we do still do the Southern Indie Bestseller list. That is also still on here. And that gets updated weekly as well. So, and then there's the Southern Book Prize, which, as you know, is currently being voted on to see who's going to be the winner. The other thing that is the other aspect of this Southern Bookseller Review is actually the newsletter. The newsletter takes the place of the Lady Bank's Commonplace Book newsletter. Here is our most recent edition that just went out, I guess, yesterday. As you can see, it's also designed to be extremely mobile friendly. It's designed to be responsive, mobile friendly, and also to work on pretty much all the major email platforms. It works on Gmail, which is our most popular platform. It works on iPhones, Apple's iOS. It works even in Outlook, which was a struggle, but we made it work. So the top 20, 30 email clients that are out there, we actually tested our email design with a service called Email on Acid that shows us a little sort of how everything looked. So we know that it all works. The newsletter is literally book reviews, and it contains about a half dozen book reviews in each edition, plus a little introductory paragraph that is just sort of introducing that particular week's issue. And we also, sorry if I'm going too fast here, we also have a space for a feature. And for the feature, we sort of collect, if there's a book that is received lots and lots of really good reviews, such as We Keep the Dead Close, which is sort of my go-to book for this week. Then we'll sort of collect a bunch of highlights of what booksellers are saying about that particular book and sort of put them all in one place. And so we're trying to do that every week as well. And the newsletter will also have our bestsellers. So it's a much stripped down version from Lady Bank's Commonplace book. It's not trying to be like 18 different things. It's just trying to be specifically, these are the books that bookstores are interested in, booksellers are really excited about. And like the website, books are chosen for the newsletter based on representing lots of different bookstores, lots of different voices, lots of different genres. The newsletter also makes sure that all the click-throughs go where you would expect them to go. If you want to buy the book, the reviewing bookstore in this case was the Country Bookshop in Southern Pines. So clicking on it will take you to Country Bookshop to buy the book. Clicking on the link of the reviewing store will take you to that store's website. Clicking over here, it says more reviews from the Country Bookshop will take you to back to the Southern Bookseller Review website, to all of the reviews from that particular store. And then, of course, we also have our various tags as well. And that is the general format we take for all reviews, that buys click through to the reviewing store where possible. Tags click through to the list of tags, and the store name will click through to the list of reviews from that particular store. And that is the newsletter. I will say about the newsletter, over the month of December, we announced that Southern Bookseller Review would be published in early December and that Lady Bank's newsletter would be going away. And over the month of December, we've given Lady Bank's subscribers several opportunities to unsubscribe, to change over their subscription. But we've been announcing that we would be changing over their subscription to Southern Bookseller Review in January. And that just happened. We had precisely 0 people request to unsubscribe before receiving this newsletter, which was phenomenal, I thought. So our newsletter subscription list has not changed at all. As a matter of fact, it's grown by about 5% because when we posted early samples of the newsletter, people were very interested and had clicked to sign up. So actually, it's been a very, very encouraging response from the general public to see about how this, about the website and the newsletter. I'm scrolling down my list of things to talk about here. The one other thing that is important element that I want to make sure to cover here is the directory. This is a list of all the bookstores that are SEBA members. Now, this last year, SEBA, like many organizations, preemptively activated the membership of every bookstore that we knew of in our territory, mostly to be able to reach them with crisis information having to deal with COVID-19. And so our member list sort of ballooned from what was usually about 150 stores across 11 states to about 580 stores across 11 states. That membership, and we had them activated through the end of the year, through the end of December 2020. Those stores are now in the process of all renewing. And so our member list has actually not dropped significantly or anything. Most of the stores are actually re-upping, saying that they're glad that they were part of SEBA and that they wanted to be part of SEBA. So the directory that you see here was the directory that we created when we had activated every bookstore that we knew of. So it's a very complete directory of stores. And I think there are right now, let's see, yes, 578 bookstores in this list, Southern bookstores in this list, which is awesome. The stores have links to their websites where we know them, and you can sort this by city, by state. You can also certainly search it, and come up with by keyword and come up with things when you do a search. And then the other thing you can do is this center column here, store profile plus reviews, will, if you click on that, show you the stores that we've developed an actual page that will show their store and their reviews. And this is an ongoing project for us. You can see we've gotten about looks like about 10 of them done. We're planning on adding a couple more every week. But if you click on it, you have a sort of a brief profile page with photos of the store and a description, what the most recent posted review is from that store, a link to other reviews, and then also where to find them. So that's the other element about this directory. One of the things that CEPA does for our author members is they have an option to be members for free if they put a badge on their website that links back to our list of Southern bookstores, member bookstores. And there's, at any given time, about 50 to 80 authors who do that. So those badges are now going to start linking to our bookseller directory, Southern Bookseller Review. So, and I think that is pretty much, my whirlwind tour through the site. I think now we are going to turn it over to Lucy, and Lucy will talk a little bit about social media strategy. Lucy, are you ready for that?
I am. I just want to make sure that we're good with questions for you, Nikki, before I start.
So there is a question, actually. Suzanne of page 158 asks, can people save books they have read on the site anywhere? She'd love to offer an alternative to Goodreads.
Oh, now that is a good question. The short answer is no. We haven't put that up yet. That would we maybe consider that for phase 2.
When we go back to Edelweiss, like just keep combing through older reviews. If it's reviewed on Edelweiss, we will see it, and there may be a time when we can pull in more reviews for this site, right?
Well, yes, it's not so much pulling more reviews. I think what Suzanne's asking about is if you're like a visitor to the site, is there a way for you to keep a running list of the books that you've read as a person? And that is not beyond the bounds of possibility, but our primary focus, at least in the initial rollout, was to just make sure that we got our store reviews in front of readers, so we're more interested in making sure that they know what it is our bookstores are really excited about, and hopefully buying those books from those same bookstores. So that is the major goal. So add that to the wish list.
So that's like a consumer-facing question then, that a consumer reading these books would want to save their list and reviews on the site somewhere.
Yes, would be an added element that we'd have to build in. It's not impossible to do, so there's a lot of flexibility under the hood in this design. So I think we could certainly visit that.
Okay, I think we're ready for you, Lucy.
Okay, I'm stopping share, and Lucy, on to you.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. I just want to give a big thank you to Nikki for doing that really wonderful review of the website. And thank you to SP for building it. It looks so gorgeous. I am going to try to not repeat Nikki a ton, but it's going to come up. So just bear with me, please. So first, I'm also going to share my screen, and we're going to go back to looking at the Southern Bookseller review because it's so gorgeous. Who doesn't like looking at it? So again, I put it in the chat, but I just want to emphasize, if you are sharing Southern Bookseller review content, especially if it's a review, if you're on the book industry side of things in the sense of being an author or a publisher, or as a bookseller sharing your own review, or maybe a review that you really liked from a fellow Southern indie bookseller, please, please, please tag us, tag us, tag us. I will try to reshare content or, get it to our viewers, but I can only do that if I see it. And as Nikki was showing you on that very impressive list of all of our bookstores, it's hard for me to just catch it in the wild. So please tag us. And also for Southern Bookseller Review content, please use the hashtag Southern Bookseller Review and or the Southern Bookseller Review. That way it just helps me see it, like I said. Also, if you're sharing a Read This Next list title, please use the hashtag Read This Next. So pretty simple. I try to keep it pretty user-friendly. And then if you ever have any questions, you can always email me at lucy@cbaweb.com, because we're going to get into how we have built the site to make it pretty user-friendly for sharing content. So I know we've looked at these two titles a lot, so let's go look at Plain Bad Heroines. Right here, you can see it has links to share to Facebook and Twitter, which is really fantastic. And then if you actually click through to the book itself, it does provide a few more links to share on Pinterest, Tumblr, or just the hard link to share if you wanted to send it out a different way. Right now, I know Bookstagram is a big thing. I'm on Bookstagram myself, and it's just harder to share content directly to Instagram. So please feel free to create your own graphic or reach out to me, because I'm creating them to share on our social channels. So just because I haven't shared it yet doesn't mean I don't have one ready to go or couldn't easily make one for you using kind of our standard template for sharing Southern Bookseller reviews. Again, just send me that email. But if you want to create your own, please feel free to. Again, please just give credit where credit is due, especially to the bookstore that the review is coming from. Just so that all of you are aware, when I share content to all of our platforms, I am always going to tag the author of the book in question, the publisher of the book in question, and potentially it might be more than one publisher if we're talking about certain imprints. And then also I'm going to make sure that I'm tagging the bookstore that the review is coming from. And again, that is keeping in mind if those individuals are on the platforms that I share to. We are active on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and some individuals aren't on Instagram or Twitter or both in some. So, but yeah, that's the biggest thing, is just sharing the content. And then please, booksellers, submit your reviews. Again, we can't promise that everything is going to end up on the Southern Bookseller Review, although a lot more will make its way onto the site once it's kind of coming out of its infancy, because right now it's still very young. So yes, a lot of the reviews are newer right now, but we will start to see that list of backlist reviews grow the longer that the Southern Bookseller Review is around. But the only way that we can get all of this great content is if you share it with us. So please, please, please do that. And please make sure that if you are doing whatever you are with the site, again, just that tagging us. That's the biggest thing. I can't recommend it enough. I have seen an uptick in people following us from sharing the content either ourselves or other people. So I am also going to go over where you can find us. On Facebook, we are at Southern Independent Booksellers Alliance, and we are also at the Southern Bookseller Review. That did used to be the Authors Round the South page. So if you were following that, do not worry, you are still following the Southern Bookseller Review. And then just so authors and publishers and also booksellers are aware, our reach on those platforms is over 20,000 readers between the two platforms. So a lot of eyeballs are going to be on those on Facebook. Then on Instagram, we are at @Seba_books. And we have almost 1,500 followers on that platform. And then on Twitter, we are at @SIndies and at Reader Meet Writer. And that's Meet MT. And I'll put all of this in the chat because it's a lot easier to just follow it from there. And between those two platforms on Twitter, we are at over 2,500 followers. So our reach is pretty extensive, and we're trying to use it to get all of your fantastic bookseller reviews out there. And again, just to echo what Nikki said, booksellers, they do have that trusted resource kind of a vibe to them, because, you know, they're real people who are reading these books and trying to put them in the right hands of the right reader. And to be perfectly frank, booksellers' livelihoods are based on, you know, their recommendations and their honest reviews, and trying to make sure that, you know, there's someone that can be trusted when people are looking for a book review. So please let us use that fantastic resource to help you find your next great read, or to highlight a book that everybody's just really excited about. So have any questions come up for me?
We do have a question, actually. I think you've somewhat answered it, but about how this information is shared with consumers.
Okay.
Someone asked, how do you plan to share to the consumer? You're doing it through social media, and then we also have the Southern Bookseller Review newsletter. If either you or Nikki want to talk about that a little bit more.
So as I mentioned, I am sharing to our social platforms. I'm trying to get content of some sort out there every day. But again, we're also trying to focus on highlighting CEBA programs. So as Nikki also briefly mentioned earlier, right now we're in the midst of voting for the Southern Book Prize, which is really exciting. And then also sharing Reader Meet Writer events, which they're also going to have reviews in the Southern Bookseller Review. So I'm sharing the review that we have received for those books. And then also, yes, in the Southern Bookseller Review newsletter that comes out each week, not only do we do a deep dive into a book, so this week was Becky Cooper's We Keep the Dead Close, which I hope I didn't just get the name wrong on. Yes. So this is the deep dive book from this week. And then in addition to that, we also shared 6 new books that had been submitted to the Southern Bookseller Review and with their book reviews. So we're seeing in a variety of ways lots of those reviews being shared.
I have a question that it might be a bit more for Nikki. It's from Ruth of Random House, and she wanted to know how publishers can see what's been entered for their books. Are we notifying publishers when we put a book up there, or tagging them, or, you know, how does that communication work?
Okay, so no, the short answer is not specifically. What we are doing is what we've mostly been focused on, making sure that the stores are notified that their review is being used and posted. So that happens largely through Lucy doing social media posts and tagging the stores. I believe we also tag the publishers and the authors when we share a particular review. We at 10 to 20 new posts week. We haven't figured out a good way yet to let publishers know that a book has just been posted on the site. So we're hoping that y'all will follow basically, and follow the website and the social media, the Facebook pages and whatnot. And as we share books, you will see them come up. One thing that I will say is booksellers, when they post their reviews to Edelweiss especially, they both review them and they often rate them. They give them a 5-star, 10-star rating. CEBA has been concentrating on the 7 and up reviews, the ones that are rated highly. So I'm sure that publishers are notified when their books have been reviewed by Edelweiss. So one thing that you can do is, if you see a book that's been reviewed by a CEBA bookseller that has a high rating, that's a good candidate for showing up on SBR. And if you don't see it show up, you are certainly welcome to inquire and say, hey, why is this book not on your site yet? We will go take a look and see if we can get it up there for you. So.
How can another question coming up repeatedly is publishers that are interested in getting booksellers to review books so they might appear on the site. What do you encourage publishers to do in that situation?
Well, honestly, the big thing is for the bookstores. They don't review books that they haven't read. Right. One thing that is like the inescapable fact is booksellers don't review books that they haven't read. So The big thing is to get review copies into the hands of our bookstores. And there's lots of ways to do that. I mean, yeah, obviously, there is a whole system on Edelweiss to make digital copies available for download and review copies available for download. Not all of our stores are using Edelweiss, but they are still actively reading and reviewing. And those stores I know like to see print copies. Some of them just prefer print review copies. I know that's hardship these days, and that we're sort of moving away from that in the given climate. But SEBA does have methods to let bookstores know that review copies are available. We have a galleys and giveaways listings that you can run in our newsletter, and we have an e-blast system that a lot of publishers use to make galleys offers and review copy offers available to our bookstores. But ultimately, the best way to get a review, yes, you ask them to review, but also you have to get that book into their hands, because if they don't read it, then they can't review it.
We also have a promotion, galleys and giveaways, that appears in our newsletter. If you're interested, you could contact us about the galleys and giveaway promotion, because that's a really good way to promote your book through the newsletter, which goes out to, how many is it? Almost 1,000 booksellers, and you can offer digital or physical copies of your book for review. We can't guarantee that all the books would appear, though, on the Southern Bookseller Review site, because again, we're looking for highly rated books, and also the editorial discretion of the editor as to what will appear there.
The ultimate reason a book gets put onto Southern Bookseller Review is because our bookstores are excited about it. I mean, if they're not, well, A, they're probably not going to write very good reviews, but we can't put things on the site that our bookstores are not behind, are not already supporting. The whole point is that this is their taste, their culture. So really, the very best thing to do is to just push your review copies and digital copies into as many hands as possible. Another option, I think, would be, I know there's Libro does like advanced listening copies of books. That would be another way to get books in the hands of booksellers, so to speak. I know a lot of our bookstores take advantage of those offers as well. And then once you know that they've downloaded the book or listened to the book, just ask them to please write a review. So.
I'm just looking at the questions, see if there's anything else. There is a question about the focus between backlist and frontlist, and the main focus right now is frontlist.
For the launch, the main focus has been recent and forthcoming recently and newly published books. That will not always be the case. It was just we had to make some decisions just to get us off the ground. And that was one of the decisions we made, because, that report I get from Edelweiss has average over 100 reviews on it, on average over 100 reviews on it every week. So, I mean, at some point you have to say, well, we can't just put them all, as much as I'd like to, you can't just put them all on there, right? So, all just as important going forward are going to be the enthusiasm of the review and the rating. So I always look at all the 10s. It doesn't matter when they were published. Anybody who rates something as a 9 or a 10, I look at those. And as we move forward, I'll start filtering those in as well.
I don't have any new questions. One thing we're going to be doing is we're saving the chat, and we're going to be looking in the chat for any questions that we couldn't answer to the whole group, or that really require more like a longer conversation with the person asking the question. So I think, unless there's another question, we're getting to the end of our presentation.
Well, I have one more, quick topic that's publisher specific. Actually, I did want to talk a little bit about promotional opportunities on Southern Bookseller Review, because, of course, we need sponsors. so I'm going to just go back and real quick share my screen again. And let's see, here we go. Here we are. And as you have no doubt noticed, there are these elements on the website that are clearly banner advertising. And I just wanted to make sure that publishers knew that these things were there. They are not limited to books that have been reviewed on the site. You know, they are open to anybody who wants to invest in the website. So we have 2 top banners here. We have over here on the right, we have our Southern Bookseller Review shelf. This takes the place of Ladybank's bookshelf, and actually is 6 books that will be promoted here for a month. This actually clicks through to, oops, there we go. Clicks through to a page where you get more information about those particular books, and clicks through to, we pick a store every month to highlight for those particular things. And the shelf also is heavily promoted on Facebook as well. Go back to that list here. We also have some sidebar spots that were sort of reserved for advertising. And down here you'll see, here's 2 Reader Meet Writer series, something that promotes the Southern Book Prize. This is basically placeholders for banner advertising for publishers to take advantage of. And at the bottom of every page, I'll just go back to the home page, so it's easier to find down there. We have these very small, this sea sunstone thing. These are all actually placeholders for advertising as well. And what I will say about all of these is that the ads are also designed to be mobile friendly and responsive. And so what you're seeing on the website is not necessarily how they'll look on the phone. They all tend to stack up and stretch to 100% width on the phone. So in some cases, they actually are larger in a mobile environment than they would be on the website itself. And like I said, we're seeing between 30 and 40% of our visitors are looking at this in a mobile environment. The newsletter, the Southern Bookseller Review, also has advertising spots. Here, obviously, is the Southern Book Shelf. Once again, that's the month that each month it's in every single issue. We have a header spot, which right now is promoting the book prize, but it could be your book. And we have a couple other what we call inline banners here. Here's an inline banner as well. So those are all available in the newsletter. And I thought I would just show you so you have some idea about how the newsletter is received. Here are the stats from the newsletter that we just sent. As you can see, right now we're at, what is that, 47% open rate. And if you look at our sort of link of where people are clicking, that header banner has almost 7% click. It's been clicked on 24 times since it went out. And we have sort of detailed click-throughs for all of the advertising that's on the website, all the links there on the newsletter. So, and this sort of report is available to advertisers, when they, on request. So, okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back to you, Linda Marie.
So if you don't have a review featured, then one of those promotional opportunities is a great way to have your book featured among all those bookseller reviews. So and we do offer certain promotions at a lower price depending on whether you're a small press, whether the book is written or illustrated by a BIPOC author, and if it's an indie next title. So if you're interested in being in the Southern Bookseller Review website or the newsletter, just contact SIBA and we can let you know what the pricing is and what the opportunities are. So I think we've come to the end. Again, we're going to save the chat and we're going to get back with people and have a follow-up article if there are certain questions that kept coming up, just so we can explain more. But thank you so much for joining us today. And thanks, SIBA team.